Hello and welcome to the Reviews Brothers. It's been a while since we looked at any Doom mods, so I thought I'd dust off old GZ Doom, head to ModDB and take a look at some that I haven't tried yet. As always, there were a ton to go through and even a few that you've suggested, and I've managed to get 10 that are interesting enough to have a look at. As always, let me know any other mods for Doom or Doom 2 that I should check out, as I'm always in the mood for some demon killing. Now, how about I shut up, you press that subscribe button, and we take a look at some games. Let's start with Batman Rogue City, a really cool mod that pits you as Batman, and you have to take down dozens of his rogue gallery. You've got the usuals like Joker, Penguin, Mr. Freeze and Bane, as well as the lesser known ones like Killer Moth, Calendar Man and Professor Pig, which is a really nice touch. The story is a normal Batman one really. Bane has attacked the city and as such a load of criminals are on the loose from Arkham Asylum, and it's up to Batman to get them all back in their jail cells. This mod takes you through more than 10 pretty large and tough levels, with levels following the usual Doom formula of having to navigate maze-like stages, collecting keys or finding switches that open new areas to explore. But it does it really damn well. You'll fight through docks where Bane's henchmen are being helped out by Firefly, then you're in some sewers where Killer Croc is hiding, and you'll find Mr. Freeze, Poison Ivy and the Mad Hatter still lurking around Arkham Asylum. Then you'll need to get to Penguin's bar to take him down. There really is a lot here. And while not every enemy has their own dedicated level, where they do show up kind of makes sense, and you never really know when you're going to bump into one of them. It's not all bosses though, as there are plenty of other henchmen to fight, each of which is related to whichever bosses you're going to find on that level, which is really fun. You'll need to find and defeat all the bosses on the level to move on, as they tend to have the item you need to open a door. Batman has a decent arsenal of weapons. You've got your fists and feet of course, which are pretty powerful, but you'll need to be up close, which is very dangerous as most enemies have guns and will kill you fairly quickly. Then there's a lot of bat weapons to use. You've got bat bowlers, which are decent but have a short range, batarangs, which will likely be your main weapon. These can be thrown on their own or in threes as a spread attack. You've got a taser and a few other bat gadgets that replace the plasma and BFG, but I haven't found them yet. Being Batman, you're also pretty agile. You've got customizable controls here, and you'll want to go into the options so you can assign your double jump, wall jump, and they are both essential in getting around the large levels. You also have your back grapple, which I actually used mostly instead of wall jumping to be honest. It's great and can attach to any surface, letting you get around levels with ease. You can even sneak up on enemies and take them out silently, but I was crap at that, so just went in batarangs blazing. You'll find hostages in every level, and rescuing them will give you health back, and you can also find various food and health kits in the levels as well. I do really love the graphics here. They've done a great job taking enemies from other games like Strike or Wolfenstein, but giving them a Batman flavour. The bosses especially look fantastic and have their own attacks. Mr. Freeze will actually freeze you, for example, and being set on fire by enemies causes chip damage. There's a lot more here than just a reskin of stuff. Clearly a lot of effort went into it. And it's not easy. In fact, it's pretty damn hard. The level design is tricky, and some of them did have me wandering around for ages being completely lost, but that is a normal thing for me as I'm not very smart. And often it was because I forgot to look up and use the grappling hook to get on top of buildings or something like that. And the enemies pack a punch too. I played on the Dark Knight difficulty and it took me a good few tries just to get past the first level, because I suck. But I had to keep playing, and while I haven't finished it yet, I will be doing so, as there's even Batmobile levels in here. Just coming across all the villains in the game is always a thrill and well worth your time, especially if you're a fan of the Bat. Community is Falling 3 is a massive mod that essentially keeps the Doom gameplay, but introduces new weapons, enemies, levels, and a very odd story. Now, I believe the story and mod here are all based on true events, and this mod is either designed to take the piss out of those events, or this person really has some anger issues towards them. It's kind of hard to tell which one is true. In a nutshell, there was a leak of a bunch of stuff within the modding community, and various people within the Z-Doom and Doom World communities started blaming each other for the leaks and problems, and things basically escalated there in a way that only these sort of things, that nerdy people can escalate things. Now, according to the readme that comes with the mod, this is a joke one, but you know the old saying of a lot of truth is said in jest, it kind of makes me think of that. Anyway, loser nerds that take things too seriously aside, this is actually a pretty enjoyable mod and I did like a lot of what I saw. You spend your time in a few locations, and it's kind of like the Matrix, where you're a character in the Z-Doom community cyberspace, and you have to go around talking to other people in the space, and eventually you'll be given a mission by one of them, and it can sometimes be hard to find who you need to speak to. But to be fair, the areas aren't massive, and you can usually find them with a bit of exploring. You'll want to talk to almost everyone though, as you can sometimes be given items, keys, or even money by some of them. And you even have shops here. Most items here are held in your inventory and not used immediately, so you can buy and save health kits for whenever you need them later on. When you're sent on a mission, you enter the Doom World servers. Here, almost everyone you meet is an enemy that needs a killing, and you get a bunch of new weapons and enemies here, a lot of which are ripped out of everyone's favourite FPS game, PO'd. You even get the cleaver and frying pan to smack enemies in the face with, and you get a bunch of laser pistols, rockets, machine guns and so on, each replacing their respective gun in regular Doom. I actually like the weapon selection here. Enemies are a mixture of slightly tweaked regular ones from Doom, as well as newly drawn ones that are meant to represent the whingy bitches from the servers. These are very Microsoft Paint in terms of look, and it is kind of funny. You also get the butts and lips from PO'd to take down. There are lots of levels here, and I am only 3 or 4 levels in so far, so there's probably more enemies that I'll come across along the way, and I imagine there'll probably be quite a fun final boss. I do plan on going back to see what happens. I really like that the levels are all set out quite nicely. You'll need to hunt for keys to get anywhere, of course, and it's classic Doom in that sense. And what I do like is that when you're in the servers, you have to make choices on what to say to people. Sometimes it doesn't matter what you choose, but other times saying the wrong thing will get you attacked or mean you won't get an item or something like that. So I do recommend saving often when you're chatting with people. So yeah, I do think that this mod is well worth taking a look at. It's got some really edgy writing, and yes, that was sarcastic, and whether or not it's meant to be tongue-in-cheek isn't really important. I don't care about online politics, but I still find some of this quite amusing, and I really did enjoy playing it. I do recommend turning down the obnoxiously loud music though, that was a bit of a killer. But yeah, check it out. Next up is a far more simple mod. It is Doomguy's Bad Dream. It couldn't be more basic, but that is absolutely by design. As far as I can tell, this is a simple one-level mod where Doomguy is having a bad dream, and he's trapped in a bunch of interconnected corridors that have no exit. As soon as you start the level, you see a creepy-looking character with a creepypasta face. He just stares into the distance, but if he sees you, he'll disappear, only to reappear in your face, killing you with a blood-curdling scream. You are armed with a pistol that has 6 shots, but even if you shoot the evil bastard with all 6 shots, it still doesn't die. So basically this mod, as far as I can tell, is just one that lets you see how long you can last for. The evil creature will disappear and reappear every now and then, but will always be just a few steps behind you, so you're going to want to keep moving if you want to be okay. If you take a wrong turn though, you're done for. I did do some experimenting with the cheats here just to see what happened and if there was another level I could get to, but I couldn't seem to get to one. I tried the no clipping cheat to see if there are any hidden rooms, but I couldn't find any. I tried the all weapons and keys cheat, and there were no more weapons or keys, just this one pistol, though you did get a ton of ammo, and I must have shot the bad guy about 100 times and it still didn't die, so I'm assuming it never will. Also, you can shoot the monster while it's invisible, and you'll see some blood splats. This is a good way of knowing whereabouts it is, and if you're about to have your face eaten. And finally, I did even try God mode, but that doesn't work here. You will still die, no matter what. And honestly, that's all there is to the mod. You just run around a small environment for as long as you can, trying to avoid the monster man. It is kind of pointless, but it's also kind of fun. It'd be good to time yourself against your friends when you're having a game night to see who can last the longest, and whoever loses has to eat that soggy biscuit. Something a bit more crazy now, here is HacX, I think that's how you say it. This is a massive mod set in the future, where you are a hacker battling a rogue AI that has itself a bunch of crazy followers, as well as a robot army that are being a bunch of bastards, so you've got to travel across the world to kill them in the face. There's a whopping 21 levels here, as well as all new enemies and weapons. And the levels here are massive, with plenty of secrets in them, often taking around 30 minutes to beat. At least they did for me, but I'm stupid, don't forget. You'll be exploring corporate buildings which are packed with verticality, often needing you to go up and down to various floors in order to find the keys and puzzles you need. There's also plenty of buttons to open secret passages or other doors that are really well hidden and often tiny. This is usually where my issues came about, because it's very easy to miss a button or switch, and there's times where even when you do find one, whatever it activates is on a timer, so you've then got to try and figure out what the hell it actually did. At least that's how it went for me. But that's not to say it's bad, it's just a bit more complex than I'm used to, and I wasn't expecting levels with so much depth to them. It's never a case of just getting to the end. You don't get objectives or anything like that, so it is a case of getting to the end, but it's never just that simple. I mentioned earlier that you go to various countries, though this isn't ever really that obvious, as most of the levels are indoors, though there is still a decent variety there. All the weapons here are new. You've got a pistol, shotgun, Uzi, rocket launcher and so on, so basically the same types of weapons, but they've been given a futuristic makeover, and I especially like the shotgun, which appears to be a reskin of the Revenant gun from the Brutal Doom mod, though it might be from something else that I haven't played. The same can be said about the other weapons. I didn't recognise any of them, and I think they're all new for this mod, but do tell me otherwise if that's not the case. The same goes for enemies. There's a few obvious reskins, like the fat blob men that are reskins of the Mancubus, but as well as those you get ogre-looking grunts, killer robots, flying killer robots, cave-dwelling mutants, and more. I really like the enemies, although I have to say they don't always seem like they're from the same games. The robot enemies look like they're made for this mod, and the more organic ones really gave me Witchhaven vibes, but that's okay, Witchhaven is definitely a guilty pleasure of mine. There aren't any new mechanics introduced here, it's just a lot of running around and finding stuff and killing. You can't even jump, which was annoying at times because I wanted to jump a lot, but it's a Doom mod so I shouldn't really expect jumping, should I? But yeah, this one is really cool. It's taking me ages to get through thanks to the huge complex levels. They can be frustrating at times with a lot of running around aimlessly, coupled with some instant death trap parts, which you can drown in, which are never fun, but other than that, I do definitely recommend giving it a go. Doom Hellfire is a weapon and HUD mod giving you access to a bunch of new weapons, some of which are cool and fun to use, and others that are just a little bit crap. As it's just a weapon mod, I have coupled it with the frankly essential Compendium map pack that has dozens of huge maps in one easy place. So yeah, this is a simple enough mod. You get a cool HUD upgrade where in the bottom corner you have a bar representing your health and armour. In the other corner you have your ammo count, which isn't a number but instead a bunch of bullet pictures that slowly diminishes as you shoot stuff in the face. Then in the top left you have the stats that you usually have at the end of the level, with how many kills, items and secrets you found on that level. I really like having these things in an easily visible thing on the screen at all times. But the main things here are the weapons, and there's quite a few, 20 in fact, some of which even have a secondary attack mode. You've got a knife, which is actually pretty damn powerful, but of course you've got to be up close and slash with it or stab with the secondary mode, both of which are pretty effective but dangerous to use. Then there's the pistol, which is also fun to use and pretty damn powerful. I actually really love using pistols in games, and I really like when they're given a decent fire rate and strength. There's the shotgun, which I think has actually been ruined here. It's got a rapid fire mode now as its primary, which is very fast but incredibly weak, taking about 5 or 6 shots just to kill a normal enemy, but there is no pump reloading needed. The secondary function is a more powerful pump action shot that does kill enemies in just a couple of shots. You've got a double barreled shotgun, which is decent and basically just has a different reload animation to the regular Doom one. The chain gun's replaced with a nail gun, which is fine. It does have a slower rate of fire but is powerful, though it doesn't seem to have a good range. You also get an assault rifle, which is a much better rapid fire weapon, though it eats through ammo really fast. That secondary function is a flamethrower, which is awesome, but again, it really eats through the ammo. Then you've got a rocket launcher, which can fire rapid fire rockets, which is cool, but deadly against yourself if you're not careful. Then there's secondary fire, which is a grenade-like attack. You also get C4 you can throw, which is powerful but has a short range. Plasma is replaced with a different type of plasma gun, which is really good one to use. It's powerful and has lots of ammo, and the secondary fire here is a railgun. You gotta love railguns. Then there's the BFG, which is basically the same with a new skin. And that's it really. You just get a bunch of new weapons to use on any of your favourite map packs, as long as they don't come with their own weapons, that is. They are a mixed bag. Most of them are fun to use, but the fact that they've ruined the shotgun and gave you a kind of crappy minigun replacement is a shame, but there's enough good weapons to outweigh it. There's actually a few more additions here, like a PvP mode and some more multiplayer modes, so if that's your bag you might want to take a look, but I'm not really into playing with other people. But if you think it looks cool, give it a go. Here is Jenesis with a J because it's cool. This is purely a map pack that is deliberately designed to try and recreate the look and feel of the original Doom and Doom 2 levels, and I've got to say, it does a really good job of it. I can't put my finger on what it is, but if you're familiar with the Doom games, then you'll feel it too. There is a slightly updated HUD giving a new look, but in terms of weapons and enemies, they are all the classic ones with no new additions, which is a bit of a shame, but also kind of the point. You get a massive 32 levels here, which range in size, some taking just a few minutes to get through, others that can have you exploring for ages. There isn't really a story to go along with the maps, but they are all loosely connected, with you starting at a treatment plant and battling your way through tons of monsters, doing the classic key hunting, where you eventually get to a canal, and then to some more water treatment plants, refineries, city ruins, old battlefields, underground science labs, and eventually into a level that is somewhat familiar. Each of the levels uses assets from the original Doom games, though sometimes in places you might not expect to see them. The readme does suggest that there's new graphics in here, but honestly I don't remember seeing any, so they might mean more that they have taken bits from various levels and patched them together, though don't quote me on that, I'm not a Doom expert, I just like playing the damn thing. Playing all the levels, or the 12 I've gotten through so far at least, really does give off old school vibes of the original Doom games. The look of the levels of course uses the assets, which helps, but there's also something really familiar about the way that they're laid out. There's a great use of enemy placements and weapon locations, making progression feel good but still challenging. There's also the classic slime and lava pits with a single teleporter in there if you get into trouble. And the use of other assets like the skulls on walls and candles are very Doom 1. And that's all there is really to say. It's just a map pack, but it has a great feel to it and really made me want to keep playing. The levels are tough. Again, I always start off playing on Hurt Me Plenty, and I did get hurt plenty, but it was never unfair. You just have to be careful and make sure you check what's around a corner before you run into a room like an idiot like I do, so revenants don't shoot your rocket up your ass. Of course, you could also combine this with Brutal Doom, or maybe even the Hellfire mod from earlier, if you wanted to make it feel a little different. Either way, do check this one out. Project Osiris is a really cool mod that transforms Doom into the classic Amiga game Alien Breed 3D, named Project Osiris because that's the name of the ship in the game. The story here is that pesky scientists have been combining human and alien DNA, creating all sorts of monsters and creatures that are causing a bunch of havoc, so it's your duty to kill them all and stop the evil scientists, showing them that science is a load of baloney and they should believe in God instead, because he's the only real creator. Am I right, Jesus nuts? It may shock you to know that I've never played the original game on the Amiga, but I have seen an episode of GameSack that had it featured. And man, I bloody love GameSack. If you haven't watched any of it, you should. It's probably my favourite gaming channel by far. Anyway, this remake for GZ Doom has all 16 levels, all the enemies, and all the weapons. They've been brought across pretty faithfully from what I know, and given an upgrade in terms of graphics, and presumably the game has never played better, running on the GZ Doom engine in all its glory. In terms of gameplay, there isn't really a whole lot to say, as it's basically just your standard Doom clone style game. You're in a bunch of maze-like levels ranging from space bases to space caves and other space things. The levels are packed with enemies, and there's a cool variety here with new ones popping up all over the place fairly regularly. You've got soldier blokies that come armed with a few varieties of weapons, as well as a range of aliens, dog-like things, and even flying ones that look like beholders, and even get some robot enemies in here as well. As with any game like this, they tend to introduce the tougher ones as you progress. You also have some pretty fun weapons to use. Your starting weapon is a surprisingly good machine gun that I found myself using quite a lot. It's reasonably powerful, though it can eat through ammo if you're not careful. There is a shotgun, which is a powerful one but slow, a laser gun, a grenade launcher, and actually that's the only ones I've gotten so far, but they're all fun to use. If you run out of ammo, you have to go back to your trusty knife, but that's alright as it's pretty powerful as well. And actually running out of ammo can be quite easy to do if you're not careful. Most enemies will drop some for you to grab, but you only get a handful of bullets, like literally 5 or 6. The ammo packs found around the levels are really what you want to grab, and sometimes you're kind of better off knifing the weaker enemies at times, at least on the higher difficulties. I also found that just using one weapon for a while helped out a fair bit, giving the other ones time to build up a supply of ammo. Be careful though, as the game doesn't auto-switch when you run out of bullets, so if you're not paying attention or panicking, then you'll just be clicking an empty weapon. The level design here is actually pretty good, none of the levels are particularly large, and you could probably beat this whole thing in about 3 or 4 hours, but honestly, for me these days, that's ideal. I actually really enjoyed playing this, and I'm kind of glad that it's here rather than on the Amiga that I played it first. I'm sure purists will hate it, but I prefer the smooth GZ experience, and while it's not exactly anything mind-blowing, it's actually a really fun game and a port that's clearly had a lot of time and effort put into it that I recommend checking out. Here's a strange one, it's Poom, Morbin Madness. I will share the official description from the ModDB website with you here, as I don't really understand what most of the words here mean. You are Jared Morbius Leto, ready to sweep the streets of Cincinnati and clean the town of disgusting menace that is the Cradle of Filth Army. All you have is your hand brush and your anus palms, which are fueled by piss plasma energy. Are you ready for the Morbius sweep? So yeah, I'm not sure exactly what's going on there, but you have a bizarre mod that's kind of fun and worth a look. It is only one level, but it's a pretty large level, and as you can probably imagine, there's a ton of enemies and you'll probably die a fair few times here. The mod starts in a cinema, and as Jared Leto, you are indeed wiping out a load of strange enemies, from badly drawn cheerleader looking women to poorly drawn women with creepily long arms and legs. There's even flying lips to kill and some enemies from Hexen, but with new attacks that replace their regular ones. And what I think are the imps are now clearly monsters made out of shit, because why not, eh? To attack the enemies you have your brush, which you can use to clean them away, but if you use the right mouse button you'll fire a projectile from your hand. This is powerful, but you don't get much ammo for it. Pickups can be found around the level for health and ammo though, and there's also a surprising amount of little secrets and Easter eggs which I quite like. You do have to make sure you've got the jump and free look options turned on for this as well, as they are essential to getting around the level, and you will need to jump to certain places to find items and keys. Graphically, there's a lot of new assets, most of which seem to be Morbius PNGs and posters and tickets. It's hard to tell if the creator loved or hated the movie. I'll assume hated, because no one likes that movie, do they? Even though the level is fairly large, it's not very complex. As you'd expect, there's a few keys for you to find, and you will actually be able to beat it probably in under 10 minutes or so. When you do, you get a message that hints towards a follow-up level. Whether or not that actually ever gets made is anyone's guess. I'm assuming not, but hey, that's not a bad thing. There's a new load of sounds here, and mostly voice samples of annoying women, and it's one of those super chaotic ADHD mods where there's loads of stuff happening at once with all sorts of noises and colours all over the place, which at first is exciting, but kind of quickly becomes annoying. So yeah, I wouldn't really recommend checking this one out. You can almost smell the energy drinks that must have been consumed while making it, and though it's only 10 minutes long, if you do want a mental mod to show people that has death animations of people pissing themselves, I guess this one might be one for you. Shadow of the Woolball is a really cool conversion that's actually more Wolfenstein than Doom, and yes, that is meant to be a play on the Star Wars quote. You play as a funky hedgehog dude whose GF has been captured by some bastard cats. You get yourself captured in an attempt to rescue her. You get 18 levels here, split over 3 chapters, where you need to explore the evil space cat's various bases, eventually ending up in space and on their homeworld, where it turns out they've enslaved a whole bunch of hedgehogs who you might as well rescue along the way. I gotta say, I really enjoyed this mod. You can tell immediately that it's Wolfenstein 3D with the corridor and room designs with the low ceilings, but that's okay, it suits the style, and it's very cartoony and not particularly gory either, but that doesn't matter. Now, sorry to repeat myself again, but the levels here are just a case of exploring, tracking down the keys that are hidden throughout to unlock their various coloured doors. If you spot anything that isn't a hedgehog, shoot it until it dies. To do that, you only actually have 4 weapons. You've got your spiky fists, which are fine, but you'll never really use them unless you suck at aiming. There's a pistol, which is kinda weak but reliable and pretty good from a distance. There's a shotgun, which is a good medium close range one, and the machine gun that is a good all-rounder. And then you've got the golden shotgun, which is a much more powerful shotgun. I assumed it would kill everything in just one shot, but actually that's not the case. It's just less shots. There's ammo and health all over the place, with enemies dropping bullets for you, and there's a handful of them to deal with as well. There's all variations of Space Cat here, ones with lasers, guns, rocket launchers, and some that don't bother with weapons at all, and just come at you and claw at your face. There's even spider-like cats that are a real pain in the ass and take a ton of shots, even with the golden shotgun. And on top of that, each chapter here has its own boss, which I really like. The graphics are nice and colourful, and I really like the art style. The levels do have a different enough feel to them as well. And speaking of the levels, they've got some cool touches. As well as the enemies, you have to watch out for traps like landmines, and there's also wind turbines that can push or pull you in various directions as you're trying to walk past, and some levels require you to navigate wind mazes where if you touch a wall, you'll be dead as you get splatted against it. There's even breakable windows, and if you smash one while you're in space, you might run the risk of being sucked out. You also find other hedgehogs in the levels that are chained up. You can rescue them and they'll give you ammo, usually for the more powerful weapons. Then, and one of the big things that I haven't mentioned, is that to beat the levels, you actually have to find a self-destruct switch, which the cats conveniently built into all of their bases. Once you pull this, you've got a time limit in which to get the hell out of Dodge. Thankfully, you always get a guide that shows you the way on the floor, but in the later levels you do have to be quite quick, and if you've left any enemies alive, they'll be after your ass. I actually didn't fail any of these, but then again, I am the best gamer in the world, so you might do. But yeah, overall, this is a fun, short mod that you'll be able to beat in under 2 hours, I reckon, and it's definitely worth your time. It's a good bit of fun. And finally, for this amazing video that you bloody love, sorry, I'm very tired, here is Shrine. There isn't really a story here, but you have to battle through 16 levels that are clearly influenced by H.P. Lovecraft and all things Eldritch, and I mean that in a very good way. You'll fight through strange looking caverns and caves, into demonic cathedrals, and even out in the open in some really cool looking worlds with a spooky emptiness to them. Of course, you have a load of enemies to worry about as well, all of which are reskins of the usual Doom monsters, but with a few changes on how they behave and attack. There are strange featureless creatures that will stalk you and attack you from long range, demons that run up to you and try and eat your face off, evil necromancer looking things that will fire magic at you, as well as skeleton monsters that fire massive laser blasts, just to name a few. As always though, you've got plenty of hefty weaponry to help you get through it all, and you're going to need it because these monsters do not mess around, but the mod is fair. You have a pistol to start with, which is your standard Doom one really, just look a bit different. There's a double barrel shotgun, and what's cool with this one is that you shoot one barrel at a time and it's bloody powerful. Then there's a single barrel shotgun, though it looks more organic, but acts the same as the regular one. It's probably my go-to weapon. The chain gun here is a cool looking thing. I don't really know what it's meant to be, but it spins around and kills things fast. It uses the same ammo as the pistol, but burns through it like nobody's business. Then there's the rocket launcher, which fires red orbs. I did keep forgetting that they have splash damage and managed to kill myself quite a lot with this one. And then there's the BFG and plasma, which basically work the same but look cool and organic as well. And that's the theme here. Everything is pretty organic style and I really like it. Health and ammo are represented by coloured flames that you can collect, and enemies will always drop a few of them as well. Though you do have to be quite close if you want to get them all, as they disappear very quickly. Ammo isn't specific to a particular weapon either, it just refills whatever you're holding, and when that's full it just fills up the next weapon, basically meaning you have to save certain weapons for certain situations, or you might run out of ammo quite fast. And it is a really tough mod. There's often a dozen or so enemies coming at you from all angles, but it's never unfair. There's definitely times though when you'll need to learn enemy placements, so you know what you're up against. I do really like the graphical style here, it's got really cool retro look to it, and the enemies all look really cool. I haven't finished it yet, as I just don't have the damn time that I wish I did, but I really do go back to games after recording the footage for these videos, and this is one of the ones that I'll be prioritising, as I really want to see what the end boss is. I bet it's some kind of squid. If you're into Lovecraftian style things and want a decent, challenging mod with new weapons, enemies and cool levels, this one should be right up your alley. So there you go, 10 more Doom mods that you might not know about. Not all of them are great, but I'm here to show you what's out there, not always what's the best. As always, let me know any more that I should be checking out sooner rather than later. I love playing these and there's just so many, I just don't know where to start. But now, all that's left for me to say is thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.